Have you ever felt like life was just too hard, like the problems just kept coming and coming and you couldn't catch a break? Well, if that's you, hang on, because today we're going to see how God can take our worst days and turn them into our best days. Let me introduce you to Naomi. Now, Naomi lived in Bethlehem, but because of a severe famine, she and her husband Elimelech and their 2 sons decided to leave and try to find food in a place called Moab. But sadly, when they got there, Elimelech died, which made Naomi a widow. And after the funeral, her 2 sons decided to marry Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth. And for a while, things were good. But about 10 years later, both of Naomi's sons died, which meant she was left with no husband and no children. And when she heard that God had blessed Bethlehem with food again, she decided to go back home. So she told her 2 daughters-in-law, "You know, you're welcome to stay here in Moab. You can either marry one of these guys and stay here, or you can come with me back to Bethlehem." So Orpah turned back, but Ruth said, "No, I want to go with you." And she pledged her loyalty, saying, "Your people will be my people, and your God my God." So Naomi was very grateful for that. But when they got back to Bethlehem, Naomi was so bitter about everything that had happened to her that she told everyone, "Don't call me Naomi, which means pleasant, because God has been very hard on me. Call me Mara, which means bitter instead." So everyone in Bethlehem was like, "Okay, Mara it is." And then every day, Ruth would go out and glean in the fields to gather food to try to keep them from starving. And because of the famine, there wasn't much food to glean. But as it turned out, she was gleaning in the fields of Boaz, who was a wealthy relative of Naomi's late husband, Elimelech. And because he was a kind and generous man, he gave her extra food and even told his workers to leave extra grain for her to gather. So after seeing how hard Ruth had been working, Naomi decided to ask Boaz to marry Ruth. And since they were related and there were no other close relatives around, he was the only one who could legally marry her. So under the law of Moses, which we call the Kinsman-Redeemer law, Naomi went to Boaz and said, "Hey, you're our next of kin. So under the law, you have the responsibility to redeem our family name and restore our family line. And the best way you could do that would be to marry Ruth." And because Boaz loved Ruth, he didn't hesitate to say yes. So they got married, and soon Ruth became pregnant and gave birth to a son whom they named Obed. And we know Obed became the grandfather of King David, and that King David's lineage led to Jesus. So because of Ruth's decision to stay loyal to Naomi, it actually brought salvation to all of us. So what do you think? What's the hardest thing you've ever gone through? And do you think God can take those hard things and turn them into good things? Let me know in the comments.